Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome. This is Ignite Press, and we're excited about this book launch live cast here. I have a very special author, wonderful woman here to talk with you about her memoir, and quite frankly, a very exciting and influential life. Now, before we go there, we here at Ignite Press specialize in helping people bring their messages and their stories to the world through the most powerful medium, and that is the medium of the book. It's been effective for thousands of years, and it continues to be very powerful. So, if you have been working on a book, if you have a manuscript you've been working on, or even if you've already published a book and you'd like to explore other ways to get it to the world, let us know. Reach out to us at Ignite Press. That's ignitepress.us, and we can schedule a call. So let's dive in here. Lynne, how are you doing today?
Good. It's a relief to have at least getting into the book launch day. It's a relief.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So we have here Lynne Barber, who is the author of Pushing Forward, a memoir. And Lynne, we've got some history to go through here and some things that have changed the way nursing is
Y-
done.
Yeah.
And you have been influential in this journey. So
Mm.
why don't we first start by just describe for us a little bit who you are. Let's get into some of this.
Well, see, I was born on the East Coast. I'm the oldest of four kids, and early on, I think taking care of my grandmother when I was about 12, when she was dying. Anyway, I just loved the idea of taking care of people, and um, wanted to explore nursing. I think the thing is interesting is that I look back, my mother actually took me aside when I was about 16, and she said, Lynn, men have two decisions to make in life: the woman they marry and the career they choose. But you have one decision to make, and that is a man to marry. I mean, she actually said that out loud. I was kind of shocked.
Wow.
I was in high school at the time, and I mean, these were the days before the women's movement. It's hard to understand these things because sometimes I'll talk to a young woman, a young athletic woman, maybe since she's in her 30s, and I try to explain that there was absolutely no sports for us, none, in high school, any sports, and they kind of look at me like they can't quite get their head around it. It's so kind of crazy. But I loved the idea of being a nurse, and so I went to Columbia University in New York City and got a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing in 1968. Um,
Okay. Now, before we go too far down that road, I
yeah,
want to ask you some questions about what you just said because y- you've seen some changes in your life, in society, in the world, things like that. And you hit on something really significant there. There's been such great change that you're talking to people now about what things were for women and young
yeah,
ladies that's inconceivable to them.
it is. They look at me and they have this blank stare.
Yeah. Um, and and you can see how that also makes a difference for choices after, right?
Yes.
Obviously, men have had the opportunity to learn leadership and working as a team and a lot of the great things that come out of sports. And for many, many years, women didn't get the opportunity to do any
That's
of
so true. Yeah. Yeah.
that. It's very interesting. And then like I've never heard it phrased like you said your mom phrased it. Men
Yeah,
have
that
two
was almost a
choices,
direct quote.
and you have one. You just who
Yeah.
are you going to marry? That's your only
Yeah.
choice. That's the only
Yeah.
thing to worry
Yeah.
about. Um, and like, do you remember like just kind of accepting that, or do you remember having some other thoughts?
Well, I was just at the time just kind of confused, about it. It's hard to imagine what it was like in those days. I mean, I'm speaking of like the mid 60s now,
Yeah, yeah. This is not like we're not talking about ages
Yeah.
ago. This is really not that far ago.
Right. Um, and I mean, I write in the book actually about this, but um, a very an excellent high school. I lived in a kind of a bedroom community of New York City and New Jersey, in a very beautiful town. Oh, there's okay, and a very beautiful town, and they had a lot of taxes, good taxes, and the school system was very, very good. It was one of the best in New Jersey, and really, I would say this is the thing, like 40% of my high school graduating class, I was like a class of 100. 40% of the boys went to Princeton. Now they were accepted. They thought they didn't go to Princeton, but they were accepted. And the valedictorian of our class was a, a girl, and she became uh, kind of a clerk, or more of a
Mm,
there wasn't there wasn't any kind of feeling of like you want to become and be something, particularly if you were a woman, and it was just kind of said without it. It was just the way things were, you know.
okay.
Um,
So you decided that you wanted to go into nursing.
yes,
You decided that you were going to have a career,
yes.
and the career wasn't only going to be your husband, right?
Well, yeah,
Um,
I think that that's the thinking, you know, like, one of the things I said, that if I had a daughter, I had two sons, but uh, I would just say, look, whatever career you choose, be sure that you can support yourself and your children on whatever income you have. And it turns out, nursing, people think about nursing as maybe not so well paid, but it is actually reasonably well paid. It really is, particularly if you know if you go further into the profession. So it was a good choice for me, although I never thought about it that particular way. But I loved, I loved the hospital. You know, when I was a kid, I volunteered at. I was about 12, and every weekend I would spend at the hospital volunteering, and I don't know, just excitement about taking care of people who were sick. It just, I don't
wow.
know how that worked exactly.
So you volunteered at the hospital from a pretty young age.
Yes, 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 yeah.
What was that? Or the Candy Striper
Yes, it
program or
was.
something
It
else?
was. It was actually, we're called. It was a Catholic hospital, St. Clair's Hospital, and we were called Clare Cadets. But we still had the same kind of pink pinafore and little shirt and so forth. And I would go spend the weekends in the hospital. Um, but yeah, I loved, and I got very. Columbia was a great place, and like I had a very good friend of mine, Pat Smith, and you had to have 2 years of undergraduate to get into the school of nursing, which was 3 more years. And she came from Mount Holyoke, and we just were very excited about what we could do for nursing and nurses. It was just a wonderful experience
Yeah, so
being
let's
with
let's
her.
go let's go into your nursing career then,
Yeah.
because this is a storied thing. So, what type of when you first decided to become a nurse, did you have it in mind what you would do as a nurse? Like, were there things that you knew that you would want to specialize in? Um, and what thoughts did you have about advancement beyond your nursing license?
Well, that's interesting. I think I don't really think of I saw of nurses anywhere except the hospital at that time. I mean, I'm sure that they actually. My first job was at University Hospital in Seattle, and I was there from September 1968 until about April of 1969. And at that time, I was the head nurse on evening shift, and I just I was really into the mountains at that point, and I wanted to spend some time on the weekends hiking and um, in Seattle. I mean, in the hospital, you know, you work, at least those days, you work a lot of weekends. So I then went and got a job as a public health nurse for the city of Seattle. And that was a really exciting job. My area was downtown Seattle, kind of the international area. It was just, I had my city car and I would go out to see people. And that would be like health promotion, like helping maybe immigrant mothers with new babies, or it could be when people are really sick and they needed help in the home, or I would arrange it, or I would mainly check on them, or maybe do dressing changes, or all sorts of different things, or evaluate people in the home. Um, so it's that it's during that time. You want me to go on or something?
Well,
Oh,
yeah, actually, I'm gonna tease people just a little bit and say that we're going to get to where Lynn has had some impact in the nursing industry in the state of Washington and
yeah.
probably across the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And her book is available right now on Amazon. You can pick it up there today. It is on available in paperback and Kindle. The Kindle is on a special promo price of 99 cents. And so I'd recommend picking that up there. If you happen to be watching this on a replay and it's no longer 99 cents, well, it'll be like 9.99. It'll be still well worth your investment. This is a great story and a great read. So, all right, Lynn. So let's go on from there. So you're a public health nurse.
Yes, and I really, really did love that job very much. Then there was a young woman who was working there, and she was a graduate of the University of Washington School of Nursing, which is a very excellent school. So she has some connection there. So she told me that the professors at the School of Nursing at University of Washington were looking to try to change the Nurse Practice Act in the state of Washington because to try to um, legitimize advanced and specialized levels of nursing practice that really were probably done behind the scenes a lot, but were not ever really legitimized. And the long and the short of it, um, there was a town in Darrington called Darrington, Washington. Okay, it's about 80 miles northeast of Seattle, in the Cascade Mountains, and a little town of about 1,200, probably 4,000 surrounding area. And they had had a doctor there for a few years that no longer couldn't even get a doctor to go there. And the actual the town was very interested in trying to get a physician there or something, some kind of healthcare. They went to Washington, Alaska Regional Medical Program, which doesn't exist because I think it was during the Reagan administration, but it was trying to get healthcare to the rural area. So they thought, well, let's try a physician's assistant, because in 1969, a lot of the Vietnam War was winding down, and a lot of these medics would come out with no place for a job, and so they would train them to be physician's assistants. The thing about that is that they actually are a kind of an arm of the physician. They're if they make a mistake, it's the physician's mistake. It doesn't. They're pretty much controlled by the medical profession. Well, they couldn't find a physician willing to sponsor a PA, and in those days, a PA had to be a physician had to be on the premises 50% of the time, and they couldn't do that. And so they went to the School of Nursing, who were then ready, I think. These are nurses. And the thing about it is, I didn't realize how much time has gone by, but these nurses, a lot of them are passed away already. But they were really forward-looking nurses, not in the expanded role because it didn't really exist then, but they were great women. And they decided that they would uh, try to work with the town and with regional medical program to see if we can get a nurse practitioner clinic in this rural town 80 miles northeast of Seattle. It was about 30 miles from the nearest other town, 30 miles from the nearest 28-bed hospital. So anyway, a friend of mine, Gretchen, she and I decided we would apply for this job. And my husband was going to get a master's degree in philosophy and Vermont. And so anyway, he decided he would go there and we would move to Darrington. And so it was just a really exciting experience. And what happened is it really did, it made the legislature put a brand new nurse practitioner kind of law that had to be defined what it meant. But they did that the following year, which was 1973. And then and the problem is they needed to have the Board of Nursing determine what really was specialized and advanced nursing practice and what did you have to do to be able to do that legally. And um, uh, they didn't have anyone. The Board of Nursing there was a wonderful group of women, smart, but they're all passed away too. It's amazing how time flies, but they were strong, exciting women. They really were in their own right and it was Ruth Fine, who was head of the chairman of, it was the chef, excuse me, head of University Hospital. There was Thelma Cleveland, who established a nurse practitioner program years later, on the east side of Washington State. They were really great women. Anyway, so um, uh, we actually got to Darrington, and we had all this national publicity, and we had some kind of a quick training program to kind of get us there, but sort of anyway. So in 1975, Dan Evans was the governor of the state of Washington, and he appointed me to the board of nursing. And
Oh,
so between 1975 and 1980, I was on the board, and there we actually developed the rules and regulations for what constitute advanced and specialized nursing practice. And the biggest thing we did was in 1979, um, we got threatened to be sued. Everything. The medical association had a big thing. Washington State Medical Association is going to sue the Washington State Board of Nursing. And
wow.
because and it didn't go over well for the public, and I think they
Yeah,
couldn't.
you think?
It, the public didn't like the idea of doctors suing nurses. But in 1979, we pushed through the first independent prescriptive authority for nurse practitioners in the state of Washington. And there was nothing else in the United States that was, nothing else was going on like that in the United States at that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I think about that. I think that is still true to this day, right? That a nurse practitioner can prescribe medications, and a PA can only do it under the supervision of
Yes.
a doctor.
Absolutely.
Whereas a nurse practitioner can do that without the supervision of
Yes.
a
Yes.
doctor.
And now basically the PAs are pretty much standard. That's the way across but it may change state to state depending upon the state. But we were the first, and I think a lot of other states have followed our advice. Our example, I should say.
So really your journey helped first. You were one of the first nurse practitioners
Yes.
in your
Yes.
state.
Yes.
You were placed in a rural environment,
Mhm.
30 minutes away from the next hospital, the next
Yeah,
town, et
that's
cetera.
right.
So where you had to make these decisions
Yes.
instantly and independently. Um, and then you got placed on the nursing board where you helped to further refine and
Yes.
define that role, which, ultimately has had some impact across the nation as
Oh,
other
no.
states
Yeah.
have had to
I
go
was just
like a
lucky because
well, you're more than
well,
lucky. You did the hard work. You put
yeah.
yourself where you needed to be, and you went after it. You could have just been, "Oh, this is the way it is, and that's the way it'll stay."
Yeah.
But if Washington was basically the first state to give nurse practitioners the right to write medications, then
On their
that
own license, yes.
on their own license, then that
Yes.
definitely, obviously, I don't know how many states have followed that, but I think of that now as the norm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I think yeah, that was like 1979. Time flies. That that was when it was September. We had a big, huge meeting, and everyone was so scared because it was like hundreds of people there from all over the state, and we were afraid the doctors were going to block us. But the last minute, they capitulated. They got in the microphone. We've decided to to support this endeavor anyway.
wow. I mean, because obviously the physician lobby is a pretty powerful lobby, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you, I had doctors. This is actually when I was on. We actually it was hard to a lot of things to explain, but and I talk about it in the book. But we ended up having kind of a board committee, like some members of the board of nursing, the board of medical examiners, the board of pharmacy, trying to work out, should we have a formulary, should be a negative formulary, all the drugs you can't prescribe, and nothing was
Oh.
working. But I had doctors, lean across the table and say, look, you know this is one one of them said to me, Lynn, you know um if you have an ENT problem, need to see an ENT specialist. You know, um, nurse practitioners have no business in this whole thing. And here he is trying to do this thing with me, anyway.
Now, you called Lynn, you called your memoir Pushing Forward.
Yes.
Why'd you call it Pushing Forward?
Well, it's really funny. I had well, first of all, to actually write this, I never thought about writing it, but I had a very good friend. My husband actually has been on me for a long time. Um, Lynn, you got to write something before you're too old to remember it. And it's really true. But I had another friend, she was not even, she was an English major, but she said, Lynn, if you should really, Christine, her name was Christine Hill, if you, I will help you. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a try. So I sat down and started writing, and um, that's how it all happened, I guess. And pushing forward, okay, that's right. So what happened was, several times in the book I just pushed forward. She says, I know you need to call this book Pushing Forward because you mention it several times in these crises in your life. You stopped and then just pushed forward. So that's how it came.
That makes sense. Now, I've got to think that there were some real key moments in your life where were kind of some make or break moments, and where you really did have to push forward. And had you not, then you'd have a completely different outcome. Can you think of one of those key moment that you kind of discuss in your memoir?
Well, yeah, there actually were several, but okay. So one time, I worked for Pacific Medical Center for 20 years, and I had a wonderful experience there. Really wonderful. I think I started there in 1983, and I stopped in 2003. And they asked me once, could I leave where I was the clinic I was to go to another clinic that was actually near my house because they needed another primary care person there. I said, okay. I get there, and the medical director just wasn't quite right. He just seemed like he was doing kind of weird things that just seemed to be kind of out of order. I had to call the chief medical officer who tried to settle him down, but it sort of didn't really work out very well. And then one day he just left and said, I'm going to check myself into some mental hospital. I'm just leaving.
Oh,
So what I did was I immediately I get all there are about 8 other physicians there. They're all physicians, internists. I said I got them all together, and trying to decide who's going to take what, who's going to do what, how are we going to handle this. Then I called the chief medical officer, Rick Ludwig, and I said, Jeff has left, and I've had a meeting with the doctors. And he said, who's leading the meeting? I said, well, I am. And he said, okay, Lynn, why don't you just take over on it for a while, and I'll try to find another doctor to take his place. Well, what happened was, he never really came back. There's a longer story there, but he never really came back. And I was so excited about this job. And I don't know, I was just excited. And then after about 6 months, Rick Ludwig, who was the chief medical officer then, left. And Meredith Matthews, another chief medical officer, came in. And he met with me and he says, Lynn, why are you being paid so little? It never even occurred to me to ask for more money. And instantly, my salary almost doubled. My son, who was 17 at the time, wanted to go to Cornell, which he ended up going and graduating. And now I had some money to be able to send him there.
oh. Well, yeah, because you stepped into that chief medical officer
Yeah.
role
Yeah.
in in actuality, if not in name,
Yeah.
right, and not in title. And yeah, I was afraid you were going to tell me something quite the opposite, that they were,
Oh,
like, you're not a doctor, and we have to have a doctor in this position, and that type of thing, which I imagine is incredibly common.
yeah. Well, I'm sure they were thinking that, but
Yeah.
because I had already led the meeting, I got it going. He said, "Well, keep it going, Lynn, and we'll try to find someone." He just never found anybody, and then I never asked for a pay raise, which is crazy. But Meredith Matthews, who was the new one, he was wonderful, and he sent me, I think, over the 11 years I was the medical director there, to 3 different national week-long education for medical directors. And those were funny because I'd be like 400 medical directors and me, and they'd say, so and so MD, so and so, and Lynne Vigesaa, ARNP, which is the legal title for nurse practitioner in the state of Washington. So, but they were all very nice, and I learned a great deal, and it was a great experience. Yeah.
Wow. Well, let me remind people that Pushing Forward is available on Amazon, where you can pick that up for the Kindle for 99 cents. And the paperback is also available there for you too. Now, by the way, if you know a nurse in your life, this could be really, I think, a really great read for a nurse. I'm going to be giving a copy to my daughter for sure. And also for those who aren't nurses, I think also very interesting. So, Lynne, we've got a few minutes left. And I know you end your book with a chapter called Paris, Brest, Paris.
Oh,
Can you walk us through a little of this story?
yeah. Well, there's a long distance randonneuring ride that has been going on for about 100 years in Paris, and you start out in Paris and you ride west to Brest on the coast and back again.
And this is
And
a what kind of ride?
it's a randonneuring ride. It's like kind of a long distance endurance
Cycling?
ride.
Cycling
Hmm?
ride? Okay.
Yes, bicycle. Yeah, bicycle. Yeah. And it occurs. It's been going on for like 100 years, and it occurs every 4 years. And in 1999, I decided I would try it. I really did try hard, but I got I got probably 300 miles into it, and I just couldn't ride anymore. You have to do it within 90 hours too. So you start like on a Monday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you have to be back by Friday at a certain time. And there's not a flat spot. It's like one rolling up to one wonderful castle or monastery, and then down again. And anyway, but I was able to, through trying hard, I guess, pushing forward, I guess, to get some help to find out why I couldn't finish it and what I needed to do to finish it. So I was actually able to complete it in 2003. So I was very excited.
Wow. Wow, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, Lynne, if people would like to get a hold of you,
Oh,
either to discuss your book or to buy a lot of copies, or maybe to talk about having you speak to their organization, what's the best way for people to reach you?
I think my email address, which is my name, and it's Lynne, and then V is in Victor, Igesaa at me, spelled me.com.
All right, I'm going to try to put that into the chat as well. So Lynne Vigesaa at me.com.
Right.
All right, and let's see if I spelled it correctly.
All right.
So I went ahead and added that to the chat. So if you would like to read,
That is correct.
hey, I got it right for once. All right. Anyhow, reach out to Lynne there. Well, Lynne, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you on today, and a pleasure to work with you with your book. Congratulations again on your book launch, and we'll be excited to see the results. So thanks
Thank
again
you.
for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, well, there you go. And if we can help you here at Ignite Press, please reach out. Just go to ignitepress.us. That's ignitepress.us. And we will there'll be a way there for us to sit down and have a conversation about your book and your message, and about what that book can do for your business or brand. So thank you very much for joining us today.
For a while.